Hot Springs Village Inside Out is a closer look at the greatness of Hot Springs Village, Arkansas and the surrounding areas. People, places, experiences. Hot Springs Village is one of the most beautiful places on earth. Join me, Randy Cantrell, and my co-host Dennis Simpson as we engage in weekly conversations to explore Hot Springs Village Inside Out. Today's show is brought to you by Central Arkansas's favorite radio station, KVRE. Find them on the dial at 92.9 FM. Stream them live at kvre.com. RE/MAX of Hot Springs Village. The award-winning RE/MAX of Hot Springs Village is the largest real estate office inside the village with over 30 full-time agents and support staff. Visit them to learn more about this beautiful place to solve your real estate needs. Call them today at 1-800-364-9007. Find them online at explorehsv.com. They are RE/MAX of Hot Springs Village at 1-800-364-9007 or online at explorehsv.com. Ike Eisenhower State Farm. Ike and his award-winning team have been serving the insurance needs of folks all around Hot Springs Village since 1998. Ike has qualified for State Farm's President's Club, Chairman's Circle, and Hot Springs Village Insurance Agent of the Year. Call Ike Eisenhower State Farm today at 501-984-4100. That's 501-984-4100. Find them online at ikeeisenhower.net. Call them today for all your insurance needs because, like a good neighbor, Ike Eisenhower State Farm is there.
And we're back. Dennis and Randy. Randy, how are you, buddy?
Tired.
Tired?
Yeah, I'm tired.
Well, if you think you're tired now, wait till I tell you about
what's ahead. Worldwide travel. Talk of worldwide travel just makes me tired. It just makes me tired all over.
So does it pre-tired you, or is it just like, post-tired? You're like, I'm going to be tired, or what?
No, both.
Both, yeah.
Pre, post, and present. Tired.
Well, you've heard a lot of the story all the way through, and I can understand when somebody says, "Why would you bother for international travel?" Got a couple of world-class stories I think you'll like, but
yeah, well, of course you do. You've got probably way too many for I don't know however long this will be, an hour.
Yeah, Lord knows.
Whatever this will be.
Randy, back in the good old
series, that's all I ask.
Back in the good old days when you and I recorded, you had a 30-minute tape. And you better get your thoughts over with in 30 minutes, but no, nowadays.
No, digital, man, we're unlimited.
Yeah. I think I've got, let me check here. Yeah, 348 hours left. We're good.
Yeah. Well, for those of you that are new to the podcast, welcome. Sorry that this is going to be your first episode maybe, but, we'll see how it goes. Dennis went on a vacation. He does this every time about this time of year, and he goes big. He does not go home. He goes big, and then he comes home. So
worn out.
He and his wife, they went really big. How long did you plan this trip?
We had been planning this. Well, let me back up a little. We had been planning since 2019, 2020 to go to Spain, and that was delayed roughly 2 years. So last year, about this time, we went to Spain and Barcelona, and couldn't have been nicer.
So and that was the pre-pandemic planned trip, not
well, and this just, and one of the reasons we talked about on the Facebook fight, we talked about travel tips. One of the things I wanted to mention was that when we booked in 2019, we had round trips from Dallas to Madrid for $432 a person round trip in 2019.
That's nuts.
It was just insane. So we got these hot little coupons in our hand, man. And we booked it in 2019. Just travel tip real quick. Typically, they only book about 10 or 11 months out. And as soon as that 10 or 11 month window becomes open, we knew we would be traveling in May. So we were buying them in, September, October, the year before. And man, just fire sales. Then this, what do they call it? COVID thing. Then it hit, who knew? Who knew? And then when COVID hit, they were like, yeah, all bets are off. Yeah, well, you got a $400 coupon, but that's about it. So
that just went toward whatever the new elevated price was going to be
when we traveled in 2022.
Gotcha.
Now in 2023, we were kind of leery about what we were going to do. We kept thinking, we actually thought we wanted to go to Western Italy, which is the Amalfi Coast, Capri, Sicily, areas like that, and Naples. And that's what we had originally looked for. And then, as I mentioned before, the fine folks at Oaklawn called and said, Dennis and Diana, you have won a cruise. Come on down. And we're like, well, we had done this once before. And you go by and they give you a certificate that says, here, this is good for one cruise, interior cabin for this many nights. And they had it between like 3 nights and 10 nights at these particular ports. And we pulled up the coupon the next day and it said, there's a 9-day cruise leaving Athens. And I thought, well, by golly, all we got to do is get to the airport, get there, and then in fine print beneath that, it said, oh, by the way, Norwegian, the cruise line we were booking it on, is offering one full fare and half fare for the next. So there was like a 25% off the airline too. So it went from, for both of us for a couple of weeks, it went from $5,000 to $2,500. It got really, really, really cheap. And we were like, we would be stupid to not go do this.
Awesome.
So, well, yeah, we were stupid not to, but then we packed up, Randy. And we leave United in Little Rock and we get to Chicago. That was nice. And I'm looking on the app and it says where your bags are here and whatever. And then we go from Chicago to Zurich, which I'm thinking, God, this is cool. We're in Switzerland, but I'm 15 hours sleep deprived. I can't see anything. I'm blurry eyed, but they got chocolate everywhere. It's kind of cool. And it's not that the flight was about 9 hours from Chicago to Zurich. So it's not that that's awful, but that in Zurich, it's 10 a.m. and your body thinks it's, 11 o'clock the night before. It's really, and apparently when you get to Zurich, United throws your bags out on the tarmac and maybe Swiss Air picks them up. Maybe they don't. Who knows, right? They didn't. And then we ride another 2.5 hours from Zurich to Athens. And I got to tell you, one of the highlights was Diane was sitting by the window taking some pictures. We're flying over the Swiss Alps and it's, jaw dropping. We're just taking pictures and just stunned. We get to Athens and it's a cool place. It's a tiny airport. The airport hub itself is tiny. The rest of the building is just, vast expanses of, and it's kind of what you think of, you in your mind, Randy, don't you kind of like semi-desert kind of thing? Yeah.
Yeah. You kind of think of it being a little arid.
It is arid, but there are places that are just incredibly green and lush, but I'm trying to think of a place where there wasn't some bare ground. It just, it's not green and lush like it is here, of course, right. But there were a lot of really green places, but we get off the airplane around 2:00 and I'm standing in the line and it says last bag 2:45. And I'm like, oh, ours aren't here. So yeah, we get a taxi, go to the airport,
You've been traveling how long at this point?
22, 23 hours at that point. Jeffrey was on the flight from Zurich to Spain, and it was a little Oriental boy, and every time he would begin to nod off, and he would just literally cry like crazy. And I had noise canceling headphones, and he was 6 to 8 feet in the room at any time. So there was not a lot of sleep.
Well, but you should have packed your children Benadryl.
I was thinking about
Mickey.
I was actually thinking about like a blow dart with a little Benadryl, and that
would have worked.
I'm not for drugs.
Are these places that have you been to any of these places before, or is this the first time?
Never. And thanks for that one, because I'm going to come back around to that in a minute. We've really kind of changed how we think we're going to do this, and I'll explain in a minute. Last year we talked about in 2020 we were in Madrid, and that was basically a buffet with the cruise line. Excuse me.
You just can't find a local all you can eat buffet that you
I
can.
just can't do it. No, we
You
went
got
to
to get on a boat with
got to get on a boat. That's the
9,000 strangers so that you
ask
can.
Clara. Ask Clara. She'll tell you that's the only place they have good buffets at.
Yeah.
No, but a travel buffet where we wanted to taste a lot of different places, and we got to Barcelona. I'm such a nerd last year. I'm watching the map,
You're a
and we
nerd
just
every
come
year.
across. Well, I know, but we just come across Spain and Portugal, and I'm like, oh, we're in Spain. Oh wow, how cool! We're in Spain. I'm kind of excited. We're going to land in another 3 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is like flying over Texas. Oh my God, 600 miles an hour, and we're still going.
Right.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we land. And I'm thinking it's not going to take that long to get from Barcelona under Gibraltar, between the Straits of Gibraltar and all that. That was 3.5 days. So then they put us out and we go through these other little places. And in my mind, Randy, and you'll know where I'm going here. In my mind, I'm imagining advanced cruise hitting the ground. Carnival, NCL, any of these guys. They have teams that hit the ground and go, okay, we would tender people from here, and there's a little tourist trap here, and here's where we'll passport, we'll run their passports. And I mean, they have, think about it. If you had a small town that was coastal and you had a cruise ship coming in, it could mean something, right?
Big boon to your economy.
A big boon to your economy. Well, so anyway, let me come back to the deal real quick.
So that Diane got us obviously.
I'm sorry.
That didn't happen, obviously.
The big boon to the economy?
Yeah, marshaling all the forces to welcome you or whatever.
So Diane got us a place at the Lotus Inn in downtown Athens. Now,
the White Lotus?
LA, yeah, literally. Yeah, I'm like Lotus one.
Have you seen that show?
What's that? No.
There's a show called White Lotus.
No. What's it about?
I don't know. It's about the White Lotus, about some... It's kind of bizarre, but keep going. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Okay. Well, anyway, so
remember where you stayed now.
Well, the reason because the reason I say that is that we were at the airport, and it was about a $50 taxi ride back, about $48, because it was a long way. But when they dropped us, they put us at this little hotel. Caddy corner is a liquor store. Down the way is a little path that goes up to a park, and we're maybe a quarter of a block from a little city center, and it's a low city center with a couple of churches.
Okay, now we're in Athens.
We're in Athens, yeah, and it's super nice. Well, they put us out at this hotel, and it's the one that we, on the map, we're trying to figure out where everything looks like, before when we booked it before. Well, I mean, and I think it was $125 a night for this kind of downtown, nice enough, room. And we walk in and we give the lady the slip. It says they've lost our bags. And she's like, I will call every hour until we reach them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really? I mean, and the
good.
In Spain, the people were nice. In Greece, the people were, oh my God. Like they were just going to hug you as soon as you walked in the door. We had 3 different people that were calling to get our bags back, and they rotated, and they would go on and off shift or whatever.
Yep.
And they called finally and said, hey, great news, they found your bags. Good to know, right? Because we're getting on a cruise.
How long later?
A day and a half.
Okay.
And then we're getting ready to get on the cruise the next morning. Well, we've got some good news and some bad news. The good news is we've got your bags. The bad news is not both of them made the plane this time. Only one of them made the plane this time. So it'll be here by 2:30, but the other one will be here by 6:30, but there's no way for us to shuttle it back and forth. And they may have done us a favor in a stupid way, because they kept saying, well, wherever you're going to be at, just let us know and we'll ship the bags to that port. And I can imagine going for 9 days to a different port every day, and your bags are just a day behind you, just missed it, just a bit outside, right? So
who got their bag first?
Who
got the bag? Who got their bag first? You?
No, neither one of us, because they were like, well, we can bring you one, but the other one's not going to be here. And Diane and I just said, look, we're not going to risk it tomorrow. We're going to come get the bags. We will ride out to the airport.
Oh, okay.
And Totas said, the little guy up front at the counter said, hey, Dennis, why don't you just get on the metro? And I'm like, okay, this has always been kind of a litmus test for how good of a traveler you are. Everything's pronounced differently. Mm-hmm. It's literally all Greek to me, Greek to me. and you're going to have to ride on a metro system. Okay, the road this goes, where's the English, blah, 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 blah.
Well, are they at least color coded?
They are color coded, and the people, like I say, were super friendly, but I missed part of the detail. There was a free breakfast at this place where we were staying just for a couple of nights. And Diane said, well, why don't you go upstairs and see what it's like and, come get me or tell me or whatever. And I went upstairs.
You go.
No, exactly. If you come back dead, then right. So I go upstairs, look around, come back downstairs. And I said, put on some clothes and put your hair up in a ponytail. And she was like, why? I said, no, come on, you got to. We go upstairs, and the very top is this bar. It's like a 4th level bar. And there's a 4x8 picture window. And as you look out that 4x8 picture window, there just happens to be the ruins of Athens on top of the hill, maybe 300 yards away. And you're like, this is just like, and we literally were like, we can't believe we're here. We can't believe we're here. All that to say, the accommodations were fantastic. The people couldn't be any nicer. We're exploring, and that sounds stupid, but when you realize your bags have lost, this is the first time I've ever lost any bags. But when you realize your bags are lost, you're like, well, I've got those pants. No. And then no. And then you realize, well, if you have to replace that, guess what?
Well,
your favorites.
I'm not traveling, and I feel that way right now.
Yeah. So. Well, you come to the stupid realization that, you know what? All your favorite stuff's in that bag. Your unfavorite stuff's back home, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we're thinking, okay, where are we going to get clothes? Where are we going to Anyway, hop ahead. It's 9:15. We're at night.
And people are friendly to you, which is kind of surprising to me, as gamey as y'all must have.
Yeah. We, after a couple of days, we did find deodorant and we did find toothbrushes. Yeah. So we were better.
Yeah.
But, I don't think they cared that much. But anyway, and we had already toured the ruins of Athos. We were the Temple of Dionysus. And then, I'll get ahead of myself just for a second. We get on the train, we get on the metro, and we're riding out to the far end. Now, the guy's trying to talk us out of a $50 taxi ride, just ride the metro. Well, the metro was like $2, right? A person, right? Or €2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We get down and we go past
metro, obviously.
We're on the metro, and it's 9:15, it's 9:30, and you got 80 people on the train, 30 people on the train, 5 people on the train, 2 people on the train. And the train stops, and we're at the airport. Convenient, right? And we get off on the top level, go inside. I turn around and look, and it's 9:55, and the conductor from the train gets out, or the engineer from the train gets out, turns around, locks the door, puts his backpack on, and he starts walking home. He's done for the day too, so we're not riding back with him. Okay.
Yeah, obviously.
We get to the airport. Diane's bag's ready. It's been there early. I pull up my bag. I said, oh, hallelujah. Why is there a gaping hole in my bag? And the handle doesn't work anymore. They've ripped it up. You have to file a claim, blah, 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 blah. We find a taxi driver at 10:45 or whatever to bring us back. And he could have been a tour guide. Oh my God, he was great. He was as fun as I was, Randy,
now,
which was rare.
Is all of your stuff intact?
Yeah,
okay.
Mostly.
You just have a hole in a damaged bag. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And no, I'm going to have
entertaining as you are.
Well, he thinks
really
he
hard
is.
To believe.
He thinks he is. He thinks he is.
Yeah.
He tells us that there are 30 million visitors coming to Greece this year. Record ever. Yeah, 30 million.
Well, thank you, pandemic.
He says there are 400 islands. And he talks about the time they go to Santorini. And I said, how long ago was this? And he said, oh, it's been, a decade or so. And he said, my wife said, let's go to Santorini. We want a experience. And I said, what was the experience? He said, riding donkeys up the side of a hill in Santorini. Little did I know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
What was in store for you?
Exactly. So we get our bags. We get to Piraeus, which is the disembarking point for NCL.
Yeah, you don't have to show off, but keep.
No, I don't. Nah. Yeah. We hop on the boat, and it's super gorgeous. And I'm thinking once again, and for what it's worth, this is a 9-day cruise, and we have 8 ports in 9 days.
And we're on day what?
Day uno, we're setting sail.
Yeah, I'm exhausted already.
Yeah,
I'm ready to
you
come
just
back to Hot Springs Village already.
just you wait, Henry Higgins. Just you wait.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
the very first day is Santorini.
No, that's right. We haven't even got on the boat yet.
We hadn't even got
I'm
on a
sorry,
boat,
the
and
ship.
I don't know what the deal. And I can share, but I'm not gonna share. Not gonna share.
No, please don't. It's an audio
But
podcast.
they have uh well they've shipped it around here a little. Anyway, you go to Santorini the first day. Santorini is, in simple words, it's a blown up volcano from about 800 years ago, and
I
the
assume that
entire
we're still in Greece.
oh yeah, well yeah, we're
Okay.
going to be in Greece for the first 3 or 4
Well, I
days,
don't
just
know.
going to different.
I've
I
never heard of
know.
this place. So
I didn't splainerate it,
I'm
did I?
I'm an idiot. I'm a travel
No,
idiot.
no. So we start way down. We're in Athens. We go way down to the bottom, Santorini. And Santorini is typically known for these whitewashed buildings with blue domes on top of them. And when you get to the top, it's just this unbelievable view. Now I'm getting to the part you're going to be interested in, Randy. There were
Me riding
7.
donkeys.
Well, we're getting there. 7 ships in port the day we showed up.
Okay.
We have 2,500, and we're the moderate to big size ship. Virgin is right beside us. They've got nearly 4,000 people. If you do a quick tally, there's about 14,000 people trying to scurry up the side of this mountain in one day. Yeah. Yeah. Aren't you looking forward to this, Randy? And you have to tender in. And
yeah, well, you better have a helmet and shoulder and elbow pads so you can just be elbowing your way to the top or the bottom.
We've learned that you don't want to be the 7:30 to 9:30 crowd. That's rush hour.
Yeah.
We come a little later than that.
Makes sense.
We got there to the bottom of the sand. We tendered in, which means you put you on a little boat and carry you in. And but we got to Santorini probably about 11:30, 11, something like that. And we look
I'm the
over.
guy still on the boat with a telescope or something, laughing at maniacally at the people that are trying to fight their way up and down this mountain. Like,
no, you're the guy. You're the guy wondering why you're even on this boat. Yeah, it's a pretty view, but I could be back in the village.
Suckers up there on that mountain. Look at that. Okay,
well,
so
everything
y'all are fighting your way, and so by 11:30, where are you?
We're at the bottom, and
so
there's a gondola.
Beginning.
Yeah, okay. We're beginning, and there's a gondola. Well, we don't have to be off the island till 9. There's a gondola that takes you all the way to the top, and there's like 4 or 5 different units that they put together, and the expected wait to get up to the top of the island at 11 or 11:30 is about 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah. So over on the side,
do these gondolas look like really safe, or do they look like something from the Texas State Fair?
No, they're really safe. Matter of fact, it looked like something from a ski lodge. You know, they're the big enclosed ones. You know, it's not just you're hanging on by your ass.
Yeah.
But on the right-hand side, there's this old walkway that goes up some 600 and something steps. And on the right-hand side, we go over and take a look at it. And I said, honey, you know, the donkeys don't take very long, and it's only 10 euros a person. And I am not riding a donkey in these silk and these white linen pants. I am not riding a donkey. And she looks over, and there's
Famous
a little
last words.
Exactly. There's a little Oriental girl with a dress who gets on top of the donkey, and Diane's like, okay, come on, donkey, let's go.
Yeah.
So we start going up to the top of the hill. It makes little S curves. It switches back, and Diane's donkey. And these donkeys, you don't even have to touch them. They know where they're going. You know, they spat them on the butt, and there they go. You know, and mine goes about 1 turn and a half, stops about halfway up, and it sounds like Niagara Falls behind me. My donkey's taking a pit stop. Well, when my donkey gets done, he doesn't want Diana's donkey getting ahead of me. So we're racing up the hill.
Oh.
And then as you go back and forth on these switches,
there's a donkey with a sense of humor. Imagine
I got a donkey with a tood. You know, he was kind of anyway. So
I like him already.
There's a stone wall, and all I can think of, you know, Balaam in the Bible, right? Yeah, all I can think of is Balaam. I'm about to get my leg crushed by the stone wall here. He's not happy till he catches up with Diane. Diane's donkey stops about this time. We've gone up about 60 stories. We're about 650 feet higher than what we were earlier. And thank you, donkeys. I mean, seriously.
And it's how far to the top?
Probably about another 150 feet. So about another 15 stories of climbing.
Okay.
But it's sloped and all this. But once again, it's a rim of an extinct volcano. It's the rim of the island. And I'm thinking, okay, well, this Santorini thing, this is just this whole ridge up here, and this is kind of cool. Well, I look back behind there, and guess what? There's a whole island behind here. We find a tour guide. He says for 200 euros, he'll take us around to the entire island, take us anywhere we want to go. We go to cathedrals. We go and have lunch. We go and have, we go to a winery and visit. I mean, he takes us to the very, very top to another monastery. We come down from the monastery, maybe 100 feet down from the very tip top where you can see the airport. And I mean, it's a unbelievable place. And as we're coming down, I look over and there's a army, U.S. Army, Special Forces red shield. And I'm like, that's the Army Rangers. What are they doing here?
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, yes, the NATO.
Oh,
and I'm like, NATO? He said, they listen. I'm like, your tax dollars at work, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So we come back down.
Our podcast, by the way.
Do what?
They love our podcast.
Oh, yeah. We hear we're number one rated with NATO. Yeah.
Yeah, we're famous.
We're famous.
Oh,
so we basically go back in, and the tour guide could not have been more amazing.
So
he was absolutely
tour
wonderful.
lasts how long?
Noon to 6:30, 6 or 7 hours.
It's all afternoon
For $200. Are you kidding? Really?
Yeah.
I mean, and there is another service for those of you that are serious about traveling. There's a service called Tours by Local. Tours by locals. And basically it's an Uber for tour guides. You know, you've got a tour guide that when a cruise ship comes in, and remember, we maybe have 14,000 people inundating this little bitty island.
Yeah.
That has Greek churches all over it. And they are super Greek Orthodox. I mean, I haven't seen a Catholic one. They're all Greek Orthodox.
Did that seem risky at all? Did it seem risky at all? Some guy says, hey, give me 200 and I'll take, I mean, are you thinking, well, what could possibly go wrong with this?
Well, the way we picked him up is that he was at a tour company and he was trying to fill up his van to get 8 people or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And he was going to do it like $35 a pop. And there was just the 2 of us. And I was like, I really don't care to be with 6 other people. And you know,
I gotcha.
So it was a reputable company. And once again, the tours by local.
A guy with a rickshaw out there, you know,
no,
something that's
no.
Hawking his service. Okay.
And when you realize
rickshaws in Greece.
Well, my donkey was dragging my rickshaw up to the top of the Santorini.
Whatever the Grecian equivalent to a rickshaw would be, that's what I meant. Until I love to travel.
I can tell. And you're so savvy on this, Randy. I mean, you're all over it.
Well, I'm a world traveler.
So about this time, my friends are seeing that we've lost our bags, and my techie friends are going, Dennis, you've clearly got air tags on those bags, don't you? And I'm like, no,
air
we're
tags.
not. Yeah. Well, what exactly?
What are air tags?
You know what they are, right?
I know what they are. Yeah.
Well, let's brief our guest real quick. I'll wrap it up here, but
tracking devices,
but it's odd. So Samsung has one of these too.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't work like Apple does because
because they're not Apple.
Well, let's say you're in an airport. Exactly. But let's say you're in an airport, Randy, and you walk past my wandering bag.
Yeah. That
wandering bag hits your long distance NFC, and it finds the Apple network, and it sends a message back, and it says, Randy's phone just told me that Dennis's bag is in Dallas. Did you know your software that your data was being used for that? You didn't, did you? Yeah.
No, but I don't have air tags, but
but you get my point. Yeah, you get my point. Well, no. You don't even have to have the air tags.
NSA is listening. NATO, they're listening. So
I guarantee you. So we leave Santorini about 9 that night. We were some of the very last people getting off, and a lot of the cruise ships already left, but it was, man, it was literally everything you think of. Now, the next day,
we went to Mykonos. This is the end of day one.
Of day one. And we go from Mykonos, and
exhausted already.
Steve Mock, do what?
I'm beyond exhausted already. I need a nap. Already.
We were given some,
but
we were thinking about
bags.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
We got our bags. It's all working. It's all coming together.
Okay.
And on the second day, we're going to go to Mykonos. Now, Steve Mock, who works at Arvest Bank here in the village, and who was a bartender and on these cruise ships for 14, 15 years, great guy. Steve says that Mykonos is the party island, and that it's just wild and crazy. Yeah, I can't wait. Yeah, it's got So we didn't care if we got off the boat or not. But
and you got your bag, so that means you got your
exactly.
flaming jacket or whatever. So you're ready to party.
So we're
Day
thinking
two,
to
you're
ourselves,
rested. You're ready to
well,
party now.
yeah, we're not rested. Yeah. So we're thinking we had jackets all right, because it was 57 degrees and the wind was significant and it was raining and drizzling.
Oh, shut up, man. It's 103 here right now as we're recording this, and it's not much cooler where you're at. So
yeah, well, it's toasty warm here now, but we would have done a lot of things for warmth. And Diane wanted, we walked through the town, and literally the town is built right along the seashore. So the waves, if the waves were big, they would splash up inside the restaurant. And it was everything you'd think it was. And there were little bitty, it's all whitewashed, and there were little bitty paths that literally, Randy, you and I we would have to let each other pass. You couldn't have done it. But we got up to the windmills at Mykonos. We didn't care about, and we had breakfast there. I had a little breakfast, and the tortellinis are fantastic. We loved the food in Greece. We didn't care for it in Spain, but we got up to the top where the windmills were, and Diane said, "Oh, I want to have our pictures taken by the windmills." And Randy, it's a little rise that maybe goes up 40 feet, 50 feet, from the rest of the island. And that was the zenith of all 55-mile-an-hour drizzling, raining, winding, howling area.
Oh, okay. So you get to stand out in that to try to get your picture taken?
We got our picture taken, and I'm like, okay, we're getting back on the boat.
It was clearly going to be a bad hair day for you that day then. every day's a bad hair
every
day.
Day's a bad one for me, every day. We went from there to Corfu, Greece.
So did you get your picture taken with this howling wind and rain?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You can see, when you see the windmills in the back, we're trying not to grimace.
Okay.
Because, it was
we'll
very
try to
uncomfortable.
post some of those on the website. HSVinsideout.com.
HSVinsideout.com.
Yeah, keep going.
Went on to Corfu, which was really beautiful. A lot of downtown cities. Corfu was a old port, and you walk in port and fort, and you walk into the fort, and behind it there are incredible, and I mean incredible, temples, and it's all built on a point. I'll have to get some pictures. Is this a location
a day, or is this multiple locations in a day?
No, this is one location a day. We went from Mykonos to Corfu, and that was kind of what was exhausting, is that we just went from place to place to. Now, every place we got off, it was like an elevator. You throw back the curtain and go, "Holy cow!"
Right.
But it got a little exhausting after a while.
Okay.
We then went from Corfu, which I thought was really, really beautiful, to Dubrovnik, Croatia. Never been to Croatia in my life, and it was just as beautiful. But some of the places that really kind of set out for us, that really kind of put us on the map a little more, was Kotor, Montenegro. And we're used to being in Greece, right?
Yeah.
It's arid, there's mountains everywhere, it's yada 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 yada. We wake up, throw back the curtain, and sure enough, we're in Kotor.
And this is
Montenegro. This is day 5, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's where it was.
I'm a geography idiot. So where is
this?
No,
that's okay. But this is day 5, and Montenegro. And I'll tell you what. Well, we threw back the curtains, and looks like we're in a fjord in Iceland, because we're in this, big bathtub. I mean, it's an enormous bay, but it's on one side there's a mountain that goes all to the top, on the other side mountain all to the top. I mean, it's in 3 sides. It's a huge mountain range, and mountains, Negros, black. Yeah. So as you look up to the top of the mountains, there's dark clouds around the top of the mountains where it rains most times. And I'm talking, we're obviously sea level, but these mountains go 6,000 to 8,000 to 10,000 feet up. And if anybody really is a fan, and I'm not, so it didn't mean much to me, but Kotor, Montenegro is where a lot of Game of Thrones, a lot of that was planned, a lot of that was filmed there.
Okay.
They have a lot of great castles in the old city center that looks down on the water. It's unbelievable. We got
What's the climate like there?
Oh, it was a lot nicer. It was 75 to 80. It was a beautiful day. It was cloudy, but it was still a really nice day. And Randy, we're talking about a ship that has 3,600 people on it, with crew and everything. And we went through we went through a passage that probably didn't have 150 feet on each side is how we got into this. I wondered when we got into this fjord, I thought, how are they going to turn this big boat around? I just didn't understand. But it was impressive. It was very impressive. But we had an engineer who gave us a tour, a second engineer, and he was going to the Maritime College. They had a college for maritime services. And
Well,
he
they
drove
have
us
to, because they got to train people to get in and out of there.
exactly in and out of there and run the ships. And well, he actually he did work on cruise ships, and this is cool. So he's going to school for 4 years. Well, he works on one of the cruise ships as a second engineer for a year, and they take a year off his college requirements. I thought, yeah, I mean, talk about hands-on experience. Yeah, I mean, it was a great idea. And he's a super nice guy. He takes us over to an island inside a fjord that is, it's got a church on the island. Right beside it, there's another monastery. There's a monastery 500 yards away, and we take a boat out and ride around. It's incredible. We'll put some of those pictures up too, but just phenomenal. And I'm telling him, you know, we were talking about cars, and he said, "Oh, I love Mercedes." I said, "Yeah, I got a really nice Mercedes." I said, "You know, it'll pass everything on the road except a mechanic." And he thought that was funny.
Yeah.
And then he told me that he loves Alfa Romeos, which, you know, Italian cars, 400 miles across the bay, that kind of thing. It's not, you know, far away to them. And he said, yes, he said, "I love the Alfa Romeo." He said, "They come with a piece of cardboard you can put under them so that they do not drip the oil upon your concrete."
Exactly.
And I said, "That's great." And he said, "Yes." He said, "You know what it means when you put the cardboard under and there is no drips?" I said, "Quit leaking?" He said, "No, that you're out of oil."
Yeah. I had a boss that used to drive those, so yeah.
Did he? And his leaked like a sieve too?
Yeah, I've heard most of the Alfa Romeo jokes. It's not because I'm a world traveler. It's just because
but because you've heard the jokes. Yeah.
So why did you like this place better than any of the others, at least up to this point?
Montenegro, we actually drove past where Brad Pitt and Angelina used to vacation at.
Okay, so
we drove past. I mean, it had a lot of really popular people. It was one of those places that okay. Are you familiar? And this is for our traveling tips. Are you familiar with the Big Mac Index? Have you ever heard that term?
No.
Okay.
I have no
so
clue what that is.
Oh, you'll want to look it up. The Big Mac Index will tell you how much a Big Mac is in every country in the world, all 225 countries.
Okay.
So if you, and because, you know, I can say, well, $1 is $1 here, but $1 is a euro 10 and whatever.
Right. It gives you a frame of reference.
Exactly. How do you really know what something's going to cost? In Montenegro, we had a little tour with the guy. I think it was 120 euros. He had us for 2.5 hours, 3 hours, something like that. And he, you know, when you get these people and they say, you know, "Are you in a hurry to get back to the boat?" And we're like, "No, well, let's go this way." You know,
right.
The bus isn't going to go that way, and you're not going to, you know,
right.
So that's kind of more what we were looking for. And anyway, we get back to the old style town, and there's this old town city wall fort built, and down inside there's some restaurants. We had sea bass, prawns, octopus, squid, 4 drinks, because we each had a couple of drinks each, and it came to $26.
So the Big Mac Index for this country is?
The Mac Index, for what it's worth, in America, the Mac Index is about $5.16, about $5.16 for a Mac with, you know, the combo or whatever, at average, of course. And I think it was $3.37 for Montenegro.
Okay.
But Montenegro, you know, when we were in Greece, and maybe I back up, when we were in Spain,
we had 2 drinks apiece, so I can already tell that's one reason that you.
Yeah, we liked it more then. Yeah. Well, now I got to tell you, the thing I didn't like about Montenegro is that they didn't quite have the euro, and they didn't quite have the Deutschmark, and they didn't have their own. Montenegro has 600,000 people. I mean, it's the size of Little Rock and North Little Rock kind of thing. You know, it's a metro. It's not very big at all. And he told about how at least a third of the people don't even live there, because if you live there less than half the year, you don't have to pay any taxes. So there's companies that'll shuttle you back and forth just right before the tax break, you know, June the 30th or whatever.
Right.
But I just always found it fascinating the way, you know, everybody grapples. Everybody gets by, makes it by, or works by somehow.
Right.
And they were absolutely fascinating people. But when we went back and had a meal there, I remember Diane and I had the sea bass like that in Tulsa 5 years ago. The sea bass alone was $35.
Yeah.
And so we had this entire meal for 27. Now,
well, Tulsa's got a higher Big Mac index.
It does a lot. Yeah. But we when we were in Spain, I went and got like 700 euros, $700 ish to have bills, right? Nobody wanted bills in Spain. Portugal, you tap your card on everything. Okay. You go to Greece, euros. Can I tap my card? Euros. Okay. So now we're outside of Greece and we're in Montenegro. And we're like, okay, what do they use here? Well, they'll use euros, but I needed another 150 euros or something like this. I could pay the guy, but I didn't have enough of what I was comfortable with. So I went to a little bank. This card is not accepted in your network. Okay. So apparently Arvest is not in Montenegro, right? I walked next door to another bank. I swiped the card. I put in the number. I said, look, just give me 100 euros. Okay. So I don't know if you know, Randy, that the exchange rate between euros and dollars is about 8 to 7% off. So like $1.08 is a euro.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I look down as soon as I'm about to hit the OK button, and it says transfer change commission 23% plus the 8%. Diane said, how come you didn't get more euros? And I'm like, I'll explain later.
Yeah.
Not exactly what we need to do right now.
Yeah, I'd be looking for that cancel button.
Yeah. Well, I didn't. Yeah, I had a taxi waiting outside, if you know what I mean. But a remarkable place. And well, let me think how I can phrase this. There were indigent people about everywhere you went. And I don't mean that like everybody was a beggar or whatever, but you would run into people. And when we were in Montenegro, and I literally didn't have any coins. I'd spent what little euro coins. They have a €1 coin, and I had spent all those. I just had some dollars. And we were getting on the ship, and I've got these 2 big liter and a half bottles of water. And we were going up, and this little lady who was obviously homeless and toothless and just very weathered. And she just bumped at me and she said, can I have? And I was like, I don't have any coins. And Diane said, she doesn't want your coins.
She wants your water.
Yeah. And I was like, of course you can have a water. It's, the Big Mac index cuts both ways, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty fascinating place. We actually, one of the more interesting times was going out of there, watching the ship get out of there and back out into the open sea. I
think, as narrow as that opening is.
Yeah. Then we were in Zadar, which was Croatia, which was once again these are old Roman towns. And what I didn't understand is that Italy is not 200 years old. Italy is about 150 years old, and we take for granted that Italy is monolithic, not even remotely monolithic. The Venice area, which we thought we were going to, that would be our last stop, but Venice, the Venetians had come 500 miles down. And they ran Zadar, Kutar. They ran Montenegro. A lot of their buildings.
Great blinds, by the way.
Yeah, they do make you right. But all that said, we're island hopping.
He's been hanging around Dennis way too long.
too long. So we get off in one place, and I'm trying to remember. Kofar. And we're back in Greece again.
Okay.
And we meet Harris. Now, we didn't know we were going to meet Harris, and I'll tell you more about him in just a second. But we tender in, we get to the end of the little runway, we walk down, and they've got a little train, little locomotion looking like a kid train type thing that they'll give you a tour of the city and whatever. Well, we find a little hotel that's like 5 stories that's got a bar at the top of it, and we're like, well, let's have a beer and just watch the boats come and go for a minute. And we turn around, and there's a sign up on the side of this wall that says,
"Is that where you did the video?" Did you do a video?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
And well,
embed that
and
too.
it said, well, we're beginning to do the video, but we don't even know what we're looking for. And we go down, we ride the little bus, and there's a guy there, a little buff little guy, a little Greek guy, and he's probably 20, 22 or whatever. And I said, and travel tip number 44, find young people, they know English, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm talking to this guy who calls himself Harris, and he says, he said, "You're from America?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Where?" And I said, "Okay." So Arkansas, between Texas and Tennessee. He said, "Texas. I go Texas."
Yeah.
And I said, "Why are you going to?" He said, "Army. Army." I said, "So NATO training?" "Yes, yes." I said, "So you're going to Fort Hood?" Somewhere.
Yeah.
I go to Texas. I go to Texas. So we've actually got him set up for some rooms when he comes in next month, and I'm eager to meet the guy. But he came up. He said, "I'm glad to be with America." I said, "Well, really?" He said, "Yes, great country." I said, "Yeah, I think so." He said, "You got a great country here." He said, "No, greatest country." Hmm. Have other people tell you that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're working with Harris, and we said, okay, there's a castle at the top of the mountain. How do we get up there? "Oh, I get your taxi. We take you up there." Da, 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 da. And by the way, Harris is following me on Instagram, and we travel back and forth. So you see Harris_amp. That's our buddy. And he this last weekend, Randy, he posted a little picture. He had his Greek ballot where he was voting for the first time, and he was so proud.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Go, buddy, go, man, go, buddy." But we rode up a little taxi up to the top, and he said, "I stop here. I go no further. The road I cannot go." So we walked up to the top, and it was about 3:15, and there's a beautiful castle at the top. And we get up there, and Broomhilda meets us at the top and goes, we close."
Yeah.
I said, "It says you close at 4. We close early today. You come back tomorrow, 9 o'clock. I said, "I'm going to be on that boat leaving at 9 o'clock. We close. So Miss Hospitality left.
Yeah.
And the taxi driver had told us there's a shortcut, just walk downtown. We walk over to the edge, and this is where we shot the video, Randy. There's just 1,000-foot panoramic over the rest of the entire island. And we're watching these ferries go back and forth, and I'm like, I think, and I'm getting to my point, believe it or not, but I think what we really wanted to do is what we're about to do, and that is
come home.
We don't need no stinking tour guide no more. We can find ourselves,
Yeah.
It's getting dangerous, right, Randy?
Yeah, it's getting real dangerous.
We leave. And I'll tell you what, this is another story that I want to just reflect on. We're at the top of this mountain, absolutely beautiful area, just drop dead gorgeous. There's a Greek bar and grill, and it's got the white cloths hanging down. And I mean, it's everything you could imagine. And we meet people from Germany, and we go over maybe, I don't know, 100 yards from where we were. And there's this beautiful Greek Orthodox church up on top of the hill. Now it's a Saturday afternoon. I know that they're getting ready to have, Annunciation. And there's these little Hispanic kids that are running around inside the church, and there's some Hispanic mothers there, and they're letting them kind of run around. And there's an older Greek couple, little very diminutive people, and they are sweating bullets. They're just watching, and they're so stressed. And I know, to these little Hispanic kids, I'm assuming they probably think this is like a Catholic church, and you want to have reverence, but they're kids, right?
Yeah, right.
And they walk out the door, and Diane and I just wanted to sit. And if you've ever been in a Greek Orthodox church, there's not 500 seats. There's seats around the outside, and then there's just standing room in the middle. And unbelievable, just literally gold covered everything, and it's awesome. And I had a coin with a couple of euros, and I offered to the little guy after the kids had left. I said, "Can I make a donation?" And he just lit up, and he went over and he got us 2 little candles, and he gave us those candles and showed us how to set them up. And we sat and said a little prayer. And people just want you to respect their place,
Sure. Yeah.
They were just concerned that these kids would do damage unintentionally or whatever.
Right.
But when you show reverence for the place where they show reverence,
yeah,
there's a natural click.
Sure.
So we turn and start walking down the hill. We walk not 400 yards down the hill, and it's absolutely gorgeous. But we're on the back streets. These are not super fancy places. Now there's one or two that are super fancy. And there is a kitten that is literally not 8 inches long doing the meow, 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 meow. And Diane's like, we really need to take it with us. I'm like, do you hear the words you're saying, honey? See that boat out there? Yeah.
Scraps would love that.
Oh, yeah. He highlight of his day. Highlight of his day. So we feed somebody's already put some food out. We kind of distract the kitten and we run down the hill, We go around the hill, around the corner. There's another gorgeous Greek church. On Santorini alone, which Santorini was 20 by 12 or something, on 20 miles by 12 miles or something like that. They had 400 churches on that. Yeah. Nice. Oh, I mean, we would walk out of one church into another church, out of one church into another church. And I was like, do they just not get along with each other? Yeah. What is the deal?
Bunch of infighting.
Yeah, I wondered. Or well, we'll tell you when we get to Bologna, everybody built a tower so that they could boast that they had the tallest tower. It was a sign of wealth or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, we get back down to the bottom of the hill and get back on the ship, and just a wonderful, magical time. We went from there to Zadar, which was our 7th stop, and then we thought, and once there was a foreshadowing. We get back on the boat, and it's day 7 or 8, and there's a note on our door that says we're not going to Venice because the port's closed. And I'm like, but how that, going to Venice was one of the big deals. And then we find out
Venice going to be the last stop.
Yeah. Well, okay. Venice and Ravenna is an industrial port where they were just going to put us out,
Yeah.
But we were going to go to Venice. They were going to tender us in. We'd go close to the lagoon. Now, for background information, May the 20th, they invoked the Moses Gates. The fine folks of Venice put up about $1 billion to build a floodgate around the entire city, and they had never used it before. But if you'll remember, they had incredible rains about 3 or 4 weeks ago, about a month ago, and they were raising the Moses Gates. And I thought that was the association with it, but no. So we're in Zagar, and we get this notice that we're not getting off in Venice, and I'm thinking, I still want to go to Venice. And I'm getting a little
but we don't
anxious.
know why. We don't know why at this point.
They said that the officials had closed the port, and I did a real quick study on it and found out that 2 years ago they passed a law to not let large cruise ships into the lagoon, but you could tender back and forth, and that the law was just being imposed May the 15th. So I'm thinking, okay, well, you Norwegian Cruise Lines guys, when we got on the boat, we're not going to Venice. You tell me 18 hours before we get there, but the port's been closed for 15 days.
Yeah, and a tender holds how many people?
The tender, based on the tenders, I've seen tenders hold as many as 40 or 50 people, and we got 2,400 passengers.
Yeah, well, that ain't going to work.
It's a lot of it's about to not work.
I think it was just a Simpson boycott.
You and your podcast, you probably scared them off, Randy. That's probably what it was.
Wait, Dennis is on that boat? No. Close the port.
Simpsons over there? No, I don't think so.
Okay,
I don't think so. Sparky.
I know you had a workaround.
Well, we tried. I made my very best effort to. I went downstairs and said, "Okay, how are we going to do this?" And excuse me, I made a mistake here. I said, "How are we going to do this?" And the lady said, "Well, see that little window over there? Between 6 and 7, you can come down here and sign up for the buses." And I'm like, "The buses from Ravenna? Yeah. Ravenna to Venice, 3 hours one way on a bus."
Yeah, really? No thanks.
And 2,500 people are going to sign up at that one window over there in between 6 and 7? Really? How many buses have you got coming?
Right.
They're just blank faced. I'm like, oh,
of course they are.
So I turned. I said, okay, we need to get on the boat. We want to get off the boat here. We're going to ride to Zagreb, which used to be Yugoslavia, but Zagreb, Croatia. And we're going to take Eurorail back around to Venice, and we'll end up in Venice. We'll see you guys later. We're good. Been a nice ride. Thanks. No, you can't get off. Excuse me? No, you can't get off. We don't have anybody to process you if you get off. I said, you got people that inadvertently or intentionally get off this boat every day. Yeah, but you don't have any plans or travel plans, or you don't have we can't prove your passport, and we just can't let you get off the boat. And my mouth is just hanging open. I'm like,
Well, you don't understand. I'm accidentally not going to be back on the boat tonight.
Exactly. And she
And
said, well,
accidentally, I'm going to be in Venice in a day.
accidentally, I got
Yeah.
left. Sorry.
Right.
Well, and then that was when they said, well, if you try to get off with your bags, they're going to stop you. Charming.
Yeah,
Charming.
well, I lived 2 days without my bags. You can keep my bags. I'll see you in a day.
I tell you what, you give it back to Swiss Air and see if they can get it back to Little Rock for me, would you?
Right, yeah. That's not a big challenge.
So then we go back
You
to the
don't
room.
understand. I've lived without bags before.
Yeah, this no big deal.
Man, yeah.
So we go back to the room and Diana decides to come down with norovirus. So she is sick as a dog, and it's not the weight loss program I recommend for anybody.
No, that's convenient.
So we ride back over to Ravenna. We pull up in this huge industrial port and we just chill for a day. We just let it go.
Yeah.
And then the next morning after that, we get up and get on a shuttle that takes us on another bus that everybody disembarked. And we went to the Bologna rail line, the Bologna Metro, us and 3,000 of our closest friends.
Yeah.
And so we're going to ride.
Sandwiches?
Yeah, well, no, not like Delta. Hello. And by the way, shout outs to Delta. We'll talk about them in a second. They were awesome.
Well, I meant bologna sandwiches.
Bologna, yeah.
Went right over your head.
Really did. Went right. I should have been standing up.
Keep going. I'm going to be here all week, folks.
You'll tip your waitresses, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we ride for $8. We ride about 50 miles from Ravenna on the coast to Bologna.
Okay.
And we get out, and I don't know that much about Bologna. And Diane has got us, she always books the greatest hotels. She booked us the Social Hub. And I encourage you to look that up. The Social Hub used to be called the Student Hotel.
Well, that sounds like that's got your name all over it too.
Yeah, exactly. The Student Hotel.
The Social Hub.
Well, we're walking into this building, and after we finally got out of the rail system, we were walking into this building, and it's 2 stories high, and it's a modern, slick-looking building. And over here, they're having meetings, and over here, kids are working on their homework. And I mean, kids over here, kids are working on their homework. Over here, kids are working on their homework. There's a big pool in the middle. And I finally just turned to the lady and I said, "Are we the oldest ones here?" She said, "Oh, no, they are." And she pointed to some other gray-headed people, know. But it was designed, and I think they started in Frankfurt, but it was kind of like a hostel, but it was like $80 a night and fantastic. And we walked from there to the city center, which had all these arches. And there were the Bologna towers where one was kind of leaning this way and one was really tall this way. And darn, Randy, I felt terrible, but all 26 floors of that thing was closed at 5:45 on a Saturday afternoon. We didn't get to walk up it. Isn't that awful?
Yeah.
It's a crisis. It's a crisis. It's a crisis.
And no donkeys that could carry you up either.
No, exactly. Where's the donkeys when you need them, right?
Yeah.
Well, we had a fabulous time, and I'll put some pictures up. I'll send you some pictures from Bologna, but everything you think of. I mean, the Old Town Center, they had people singing in the streets. They had music.
So now, was Diana sick? Was she was sick the whole way coming home?
So let me tell you about norovirus. Last time I had norovirus, and norovirus is the scourge of the cruise lines. And
like kennel cough when you book a dog or something.
Exactly. And when I was talking to Steve Mock about it, Steve made the simplest observation. He said when he was on the cruise ships that literally every week they had a briefing about norovirus. And the answer, and I tell you the best travel tip I got: don't sanitize your hands, wash your hands. Don't sanitize your hands, wash your hands. And last year when I got it, I told our doc when we got back, I told him what I'd done. He said, you literally can take one bite of food that has just a few spores in it, and you and Diane can eat the same food, and you literally get a different spoonful that she does, and you've got it. And I had it for 2.5, 3 days. And then for the next week and a half, every time I ate, I was queasy. It was pretty horrible. And Diane was pretty much sideswiped by it. She had it for one night, and then she was just queasy, and you get motion sick easy, you get nauseated easy, you can't eat a whole lot.
I was pretty excited about taking a 9-day cruise somewhere until we got to the end of this story, but no.
This is the last thing that talked you out of it, right?
I'm glad you went, and I'm happy to hear about it and see the pictures, but I'm glad you went, and I didn't have to go.
You sure? You could have come, Randy. You could have come.
No. Listen, I don't no.
Well, I
No.
got the last piece of the story that shows how just absolutely out of it I am.
Let's hear it.
So this weekend,
Well, we
or
already
when
knew
we went,
that, by the way.
huh?
We already
What's that?
knew that. You were out.
Yeah,
there.
yeah. So last year we were in Spain and they had the Catalonian Grand Prix, which I'm a huge Formula One fan.
Yep.
And but there were about 330,000 people I didn't want to be with last year.
Mm-hmm.
And so we kind of dodged that. And ironically, our cruise ship went to Portofino, Portugal, which was where they had the next one. So we, we're dodging these big crowds, if you know what I mean. So we're in Bologna. We get on we're at the Bologna airport, and there's a spot no wider than this room, 12 to 16, something like that. And everybody's waiting. There's 360 people waiting to get on a plane in a little terminal about this size. This one room is the gate. And then the gate opens. And you walk down this ramp, and you walk down this ramp, and you walk down this ramp, and you get out on the tarmac, and you walk over to that plane, and then you get on, because the plane does not come up to the terminal. You get to walk out to it, even in the pouring rain.
Yeah, like the old school.
Exactly. And there's probably 15, 20 guys, and Diane and I are seated in front of each other, not beside each other, which I hate. So there's these guys that have black jackets with little yellow badges on them.
Seat and do this.
We're gonna die.
Put her knees in your back and all that.
Exactly. Yeah. Are you awake yet? Are you awake?
Right.
So I'm going to try and shuffle with somebody if I can, to sit beside her. And we get on the plane, and these 15, 18, maybe 20 guys with these black jackets and the little yellow badges are there. And I'm like, that's a good looking jacket. I'd take one of those, Now remember, Formula One fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we get on the plane, and I'd asked the guy, I said, you don't mind if I sit here? He said, no, I can't. And he was a big guy. I mean, big burly guy, probably like a pit crew guy, that would haul tires around and put them on cars.
Yeah.
Hello, Simpson. Hello.
Tire changer kind of a
guy.
Exactly.
In the pit crew. And so I'd have a window seat. I sit down, and this little bitty diminutive guy comes up. He's nice as he can be. And he looked at his ticket, and he looked at me, and I said, I was trying to sit with my wife. Can we? Oh yeah, sure. We swap. Super nice guys. We fly 2 hours from Bologna back to Paris. We land in Paris, and Diane turns and goes, do you think those guys are with Ferrari and they're on a pit crew or something? And I'm like, well, where would they be going? Montreux? They're flying to Montreux. I'm sitting around.
Recognize the little Ferrari emblem on their.
I saw the Ferrari emblem, but I mean, Ferrari employs like 1,500 people in Montenegro or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't think anything about it, and I tap on the guys ahead of me, and I said, "Are y'all going to Montreal?" He said, "Oh yes. It was the Canadian Grand Prix." He said, "Yeah, we go there. We go there." I said, "I thought you guys would fly first class or on the private jet or whatever." Yeah, Charter. You would think. And Randy, the answer could not have been any better. He said, well, we do when we are winning. Yeah, that winning. So apparently when you're losing, you're stuck with the Simpsons on the back of your plane, right? Yeah. Stealing your seats.
Right. Man, well, you weren't glad to get home or anything, were you?
We landed in Little Rock. We got we had a shuffle to get our bags, make sure our bags came up. We
now you were gone how long? So
we were gone about 14 days.
Okay, yeah.
And we went back to the Little Rock Airport where we were doing long-term parking, and we got our little Lexus SUV and started driving home, and about an hour from the village to the airport. Mm-hmm. And Diane kept saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Now, Randy, we had been up 26 hours straight.
Right.
And I said, I'm awake. I'm doing good. I hadn't had coffee or whatever, but I'm awake. I'm good. I'm miserable from not sleeping, but I'm good. And about I came through the gates, and probably about the last 5 to 8 miles, I'm like, oh boy, slap yourself to keep awake. The horse could see the barn. All I could think was, I got to get inside. And it probably took 3 days to get back on track time wise. Going there was a lot harder than coming back. Coming back, you can kind of adjust, but boy, going there, you're at a different place. All I say, I missed one huge detail I wanted to tell you, and to answer this up. we pulled it. We walked into the Bologna where they make the sandwiches. We walked into Bologna Euro rail, and I'd always heard things about Euro rail. They were super nice. But as soon as we walked on, now this is Bologna, so we're in the northeast upper four corner. Imagine we're at 2:00. Maybe we're 2.5 hours, 3 hours from the border. We're not far from the Swiss Alps. And we walk in, there's a big banner sign that says Naples, 69 euros, Rome, 99 euros. And I'm like, what? We could ride the train from here to really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you cruise ship people.
It's like interstate travel for us.
It really is. Now this was one of the busiest days of the year, and it was unbelievably crowded, and we had to fight for seats and all that, and not what I'm interested in doing again. That said, we met some wonderful people from Arizona, learned a lot from them. But I realized after that, number one, we want to travel before Memorial Day, because Memorial Day kind of around Europe and England and America is always the kind of the beginning of the summer. And that I don't know that we're going to be doing a cruise next year. I probably think we'll probably land in Western Italy, and we'll just take Eurorail or buses or whatever. Because one of the things I was telling you about, like with Zagreb and the whole deal, I was ready to kind of master public transit, because I thought that would be one of the last pieces of the pie. And it was a little easier. It was easier. It was a lot easier than I thought it was, So
yeah, I would crave to be in a place longer, to just get a sense of the place. But that's me.
No, that's exactly, and that's kind of where we ended up. Last year I told you we went to Sitges outside of Barcelona, and we spent like 4 or 5 days there, unbeknownst to us, COVID positive test and all that.
Yeah.
And we really enjoyed just being there a few days. So I think that's probably what we're going to do this next time.
Now, when does the annual planning begin? As soon as you get back, or before you even take the first trip? How far out do you guys plan?
We get serious about it, and we have to use this. And I said this with Jerry Wilson, the Carnegie guy. Sometimes you have to have goals that you throw out in front of you as an anchor, and you pull yourself toward them.
Yep.
Come February and March, when it is just crazy for Diane in tax season, and she's working 6 and 7 days a week, and
his wife is a CPA, for those of you that may not know.
Yeah, and a great CPA too. 501-321-1040, 321-1040. But for those, sometimes you need a goal to throw out in front of you, and I've literally seen relaxation and a little anticipation and a little excitement, because if it's cold, dreary, and wet in February and March, like it can be here, and all you can see is dead leaves and kind of cold and dreary outside, and it looks like you're going to work yourself to death again, having a goal back in spring, so that's kind of when we booked it. We probably booked it late January this year, probably maybe early February, but we do it over a few days, because we're like, okay, if we're going to do this, and number 55, don't put a gun to your head that everything has to be booked when you do it at one time. You book your airline tickets. I promise you, there will be a hotel nearby that's nice.
Yeah.
You'll find one. It's okay. Because you can give yourself a whole lot of heartburn about that. I mean, I kept telling you that Diane finds these great hotels. Well, great hotels are not expensive, and you don't have, especially when you put in the Big Mac index.
What's her trick for finding a great hotel?
You actually, she will sit on this very couch, and she'll browse through TripAdvisor and Booking.com. Okay. And then we'll go, we have big screens here in the house, techies, right? And so we'll pull up the map and go, okay, what's the street view of this place? Is there a lot of graffiti on the building? Does it look like there's trash on the street? Is it,
right.
To literally kind of walk down a street you've never walked down before, and you're going to fly 8,000 miles to get on a street. Maybe you want the right one.
You want to do the digital recon of the whole thing. Sure.
Exactly. And there's a very, very, very sweet spot that is close to an amenity, but not overpriced, that has great ratings.
Right.
There's just a threshold of a lot of that. And those work great.
Now, how far over or under budget do you typically run? I don't mean in dollars, but
No, I
mean,
know,
give
I
me
know.
some sense of it.
We're pretty much straight on budget.
Are you?
We're very disciplined. That's not a problem. We've got some dollars set aside and we know what
Yeah.
we want to do.
Right.
But the fine folks at NCL used to ding you for they used to hit you for uh, uh, like a tip fee,
Okay.
like we're going to collect a tip and give it to all the people. Well, they don't hit you for a tip fee anymore. It's $20 per person per night. So
So they
our
just
rate
build
looked,
that in.
yeah, exactly. So our rate looked pretty good till you added $40 a night to it, and it wasn't bad. But 9 nights, $40.
Yeah. Adds up.
It adds up pretty quick to ancillary things.
So the location, so like the next trip where you want to go, do you guys come to a really quick decision on, okay, the next trip we absolutely want to go here, or do you throw different ideas out, or what does that look like?
It's funny. We actually we watch travel shows a lot, and we have discussions about what we would want to do months in advance. Do you want to go to Australia? That's like 20 hours of flying, and a friend of mine said it looks a lot like Heber Springs. So,
Yeah. So we'll just drive over there.
We'll go to Heber Springs and go, okay, you throw a shrimp on the barbie and I'll speak Australian to you, okay?
Yeah.
So no,
these are conversations Rhonda and I just don't have. we never have these conversations.
Well, I tell you what, let me give you, because I know some of the questions that come up. The cruise ship, the cruise, the airline, all that, both of us together, 2 weeks would have been around 5,500 to 6,500 total.
Mm-hmm.
So about 2.5 a piece, something like that. We got some fantastic bargains. Would we have done what we did had we not had these bargains? I don't know. We would have been on our own for the airfare, and I don't know.
No, you wouldn't have.
Yeah, we might have scaled back or whatever.
You buy electronics off of eBay. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way you're paying full price for all that.
Don't be telling everybody all the secrets, Randy. God, what are you doing, man?
No, that ain't happening. That ain't happening. That's awesome, though.
Yeah,
see, I didn't know that. I didn't know that you got these little certificates and coupons and stuff.
Well, and we had gotten.
I should have known. I should have figured that out, but I didn't.
Because you knew how cheap I was. You knew,
exactly.
Probably about 7 years ago, we got a coupon just like this from Oakland, and it was for any place you wanted to go that left these ports, and it was Carnival. And Diana had never left the country before. We had never traveled together before, very far, certainly out of the country. So we went and got our passports. We were all excited about that. And we left out of Galveston, went to some places in Mexico, and it was like a 5-day cruise. Well, when they give you these certs, they'll say, here's you can have a 3-day or a 5-day or a 7-day or a 9-day or a whatever.
Right.
Well, it's free no matter what, whether you use 9 days.
Don't ever take a 3-day cruise. You'll
exactly.
End up like Gilligan.
Exactly.
You'll end up on Gilligan's Island. Not a 3-day cruise. It's got to be more than 3 days.
Got to be more, and never get on a boat that says SS Minnow. Too, I meant to tell you that. Not a good idea. Not a good idea.
So keep going. Sorry.
No. That's I'm pretty much to the end of the travel tips. We did on the website on Facebook. We did have some really great travel tips. A lot of people talked about being careful not to offend the natives, as it were.
Right.
And I don't disagree with some of the things that some people said. Some said be sure and get lots of currency, and others said don't. Like I said, when we were in Spain and Portugal, everything was on a card. And when we got to Greece, everything they wanted was cash.
Yeah, I started to say some of that stuff isn't. I mean, it's terribly location specific, isn't it?
Yeah, it really you can't narrow it down to that much sometimes. So
yeah,
I guess part of it is just like what we did, and that is be ready to monitor and adjust. I think had Diane not gotten sick, I certainly wouldn't want to drag her all over the country when she was getting sick. But to go to Zagreb, Yugoslavia, or Zagreb, Croatia, and ride the train, I love seeing how people really live. Tourist areas are nice. That's interesting. Good, cool.
Yeah, but short dose.
Exactly, the real people. And when we get to Bologna, oh my God. We leave the train station. The train station from the social hub is 4 blocks, something. So we walk back down. There's an enormous church at the corner again, gorgeous places. Now, when you're in Italy, they're all Catholic churches, not too many Greek Orthodox. Right across the street from one of the big, beautiful Catholic churches is a little bitty place, great, supposed to be a great Italian restaurant. And they've got tortellini, they've got Greek salad. They've got steak. It's really nice. And I'd always heard this routine before as a kind of a joke, you know. But this lovely little waitress comes over and she says, "What would you like?" And I said, "You just want a bottle of Merlot, baby? Just a, or not a bottle, but a glass of Merlot and just some generic red wine." And I said, "Yeah." And the little waitress said, No. I will not do that for you. I will get you a great bottle from our area here. You need red wine from Bologna. I'm like, okay. So yeah, it's true. It really happens. They will absolutely tell you, "No, I'm not going to do that for you."
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Good.
You might need you some of that, Randy.
No. I need all the sobriety I can get.
No. I mean, having a waitress tell you they're not going to help you with that.
Oh,
no,
well, it's that, what's that, what was that movie with the great line, the lady comes up to the guys and says, "What don't you want?" You remember that? They serve green beans or something else. So they only serve one thing: T-bone, rare.
Yeah, rare.
Loaded baked potato and green beans and something else. So what don't you want?
What don't you want? Because I'm going to bring you the regular unless you do.
Well, because I'm only bringing you one thing. It's just the only thing you get to choose is the vegetable. You don't get to choose how it's cooked.
Do you not want the green beans or do you not want the mashed potatoes?
Yeah, exactly. So what don't you want? So
yeah.
That's funny. Well, welcome home. Welcome home.
It's good to be home. And I got to tell you, just because, and I tell you what, I'm trying to give more travel advice. You would think that when you travel, everything's going to be perfect. And I don't mean that derogatorily, and obviously it's not going to be perfect and whatever, but I want to remind you.
Just the opposite. I think if it can go wrong, it will go wrong.
Well, let me explain to you that we're on a boat, and I'm on a boat with several $100s or euros, that I don't know if Joe Biden and the Senate and the Congress or the representatives are going to be able to work out a debt reduction bill or a budget extension. So I'm standing in Switzerland thinking, I hope this $100 in my pocket is not going to be worth $80 come tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
I hope they're going to work something out. Because the point of what I'm making is that there will always be a potential crisis or a crisis that could upset your trip. Don't let it upset your trip. Just go do it. And somebody had said before, "Well, this is probably the trip of a lifetime, Dennis." And I'm like, yeah, probably. And as I have been told and said a million times, don't wait till you're old to travel. If we walk on average when Diane and Diane joke that when we go on vacation, it's a lot like boot camp. I go to Diana's boot camp because during the rest of the week we'll walk 2 and 3 miles a day. We go on vacation, we'll walk 8 and 10 miles a day, and healthiest thing we do, I guess, technically. But there's a lot of things that could go wrong, but you got to ignore them and just go on with life every day.
Yeah, well, there is that. But Hot Springs Village is not a bad place to come home to, huh?
We came home, sat down on the lake. Diane said, "Why don't we crawl in the hot tub? We have a new hot tub back here behind us." Pulled the lid off, sat in the hot tub, looked up at the stars and went, and we travel because...
Yeah, that's exactly what my line would be.
I can't wait to do another 26 hours of being awake and not sleeping and traveling and being stuffed with a bad sandwich every 4 hours,
and getting whatever that bug is that y'all got, that amoeba that y'all brought back home with you.
I do not encourage the norovirus at any time, at any day.
There's that.
There's that.
Well, it's awesome. All right. Anything that we want to tease before we say goodbye, since we've held the audience complete hostage for however long this has been?
Bless their souls. I tell you what, let's just kind of come back to it real quick. You and I have been talking quite a bit. We know there are some big changes coming for you, period. There's going to be some life changes, that kind of thing, I think, for the better. Yeah. That said, there's going to be some changes on the show, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, term it, improvement. We're trying to grow. We're trying to get better. We're trying to engage the audience and kind of give folks more of what they want and kind of satisfy our own curiosities as well. So, yeah, no, listen, it's all good, and yeah, we've got huge changes, five months or so away.
Well, but we have huge improvements in the way we see it. As with your getting COVID and the move and the change and the sale and all this, and it couldn't have been more complicated, couldn't have been more difficult. I know it could have been more difficult, but it brought us to a place where, I'm doing a lot of interviews with individual people because as a rule, I don't want to just make shows with myself. But more Randy and Dennis shows is what I see in the future, in the crystal ball.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think for sure.
Yeah. And actually, I'm looking forward to the one we're going to do on music soon because, look, I know we've done a lot of shows and we do have curiosity about the village, but we also, for those of you that don't know, Randy ran a record and hi-fi shop for decades. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was how the whole thing got started. Got started playing Earth, Wind, and Fire to demo speakers, back in the early 70s, when I was about 15. So, yeah.
And you had to lie and tell him you were 16 so you could work there, right?
No, I didn't.
No.
Oddly enough. He never asked how old I was. I walked in cold,
So don't ask, don't tell.
People don't think cold calling works. I got news for you. My very first job selling stereo equipment was a cold call, an in-person cold call.
Did you walk in the door and say, "Hey, I can sell that stereo for you," or what'd you do?
No, I just walked in and I said, you guys looking for any sales help? And
15, Randy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the general manager's like, nah. He was standing behind the counter and he said, "No, not really." And it happened that the owner, who had been trained in the Navy, he came walking up to the kind of showroom area, and kind of wanted to know what was going on. So I told him, and next thing I know, I'm sitting in front of him in the back office answering questions about brands that he doesn't even carry, which that's the only question I remember is Marantz model numbers.
3110, the 3100 series, the silver face boys.
Do you know what the last two digits mean? And I said, that's the wattage.
That's the wattage, yeah.
That got me the job.
The 3125 is a 25 watt amp, and
the 45, the 3345. That's I answered that question. He hired me.
See, this is what people don't know about us, and they might think that we've known each other our whole lives or whatever, but we have there's a cross section of so much that we do and have done together. When I was in college, we had a whole rack, and forgive me if I'm getting the numbers wrong, but we did not have little bitty preamps. In the music room, we had turntables, and there was a big long table, and that table had a Marantz 3100 dropped into it that had no amplifier. And it was a 3150. So it had it had a receiver, okay. But that we plugged in the turntable and we plugged in our headphones, and that's how we did our homework. We had a full amplifier to do our homework with. Well, Dennis, they're asking me to run sound with our group that we travel with the scholarship group. And I said, well, yeah, but we're going to need more power. And they said, what are you going to do? I said, well, we got a whole room full of Marantz amplifiers we're not using. They said, well, what do we do? I said, just lift them up. We racked them together. I bridged them all together, and I was making hundreds of watts out of these little boxes, Well, so when we come home, we always perform on Sundays, of course, and we come home on a Sunday night, and one of them smells like blue smoke. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Mm-hmm. And they're like, what happened? I was like, well, one of the amplifiers burned up. And they said, what are we going to do? I said, nothing. He said, what do you mean? We're going to drop it back in the hopper. Nobody will ever know because they never plug speakers up to the back of it. They'll know. No, worked great for the next 12 years or whatever, So anyway, we had areas.
That's what prompted, Dennis wanted to do a show about music. And I think it was largely prompted because of KVRE. So quick shout out, KVRE, our exclusive media partner, been super since day one, by the way.
Yeah.
And now that the HSV Inside Out radio edition every Saturday at 10 a.m., every Sunday
and
at 10
Sunday,
a.m.
10 a.m.
Yeah. Same show. So if you miss it on Saturday, then catch it on Sunday. And if you loved it on Saturday, then love it again on Sunday. So.
And if you hated it on Saturday, don't tell anybody and just, go to the lake or something.
Just
right?
Power through.
And for what it's worth, you filled in for me for a month. You did 4 shows that I sincerely appreciate. If you hadn't heard those, contact me. I'll mail you the link or something. No, they were great shows. But that's kind of what sparked us to we started talking trivia for music. And I'm like, man, we know a lot of stuff between us.
Well, the shows were probably terrible, but I loved it because I got to play music. So,
and explain to people real quick, Randy, and we got to go, I know, but explain to people, why don't we play music on here every week? I'd love to.
Little small thing called copyright that would.
Are they still doing that?
Yeah. That would get
really
us, that would get us banned from YouTube, and it would be.
Yeah.
It would get us banned on the podcast platform. So. By the way, and we don't ever hawk it, but we probably should. So the YouTube channel, you can find links at our website. Click on that. Yeah, we would appreciate it if you'd subscribe, if you'd click that like button, that thumbs up button. People tell you this all the time on YouTube because it's true. It does help you get noticed more.
Yep.
They've got these bots and things that work this magic that nobody but Dennis understands. So... Anyway, there's that. So if you do want to watch in video, which I don't know why anybody would, but people do, and we appreciate you. So, all right.
I notice our shows come out Tuesday night and Friday, or Tuesday night and Thursday night, Monday night and Thursday night, about 2 a.m. 1 a.m. About 1 a.m.
1:11 a.m. Set
1:11 a.m.
to it.
That's right. You can set an alarm, wake up at 1:11 a.m. on Tuesday morning, Monday night, or Thursday night, Friday morning. But Randy, every time I look on, there have been 13 views. There's 13 people that between the time that the show comes out and that I get up in the morning.
I'll give you a secret and tell you why.
Well,
the YouTube videos publish at 11:30 the night before. So they publish at 11:30.
Oh.
At 1:11, it goes live on our website, and it goes to all the audio podcast platforms.
Or the RSS
so
feeds.
If you will subscribe to the YouTube channel, you will get, what is that, a 3
hour and 20 minutes of
you'll get a 1 hour and some odd jump on the thing. Now you'll have to be awake. You have to be sitting in front of your computer at 11:30 the night before to get it, but some of the stuff's so compelling, you probably would want to do that.
Well, now, Randy, hang on. Just because they start being awake when they start watching it, I mean, if there's a nod off here and there, that's not our fault, right?
No, or if you're like me, you go to bed, I don't know, you try to go to bed at 10 o'clock, then by 11:30, you're up. So it's perfect. It's perfect timing.
Had that cat nap, time to go back to work.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Say goodnight, Dennis.
Good night, Dennis. For those of you who are Hot Springs Village Inside Out, Randy Cantrell, Dennis Simpson, we will see you next time.
Thanks for watching and listening to Hot Springs Village Inside Out, a weekly podcast starring Hot Springs Village, Arkansas. Visit the website at hotspringsvillageinsideout.com.